Brandenburg-Prussia is the historiographical denomination of the early modern realm of the Brandenburgian Hohenzollerns between 1618 and 1701. Before we look at the establishment of this powerful state, let's take a look at the formation of the two individual states that combined to make Brandenburg-Prussia. In late medieval and early modern times, Brandenburg was one of the 7 electoral states of the Holy Roman Empire, and, along with Prussia, formed the original core of the German Empire, the first unified German state. In a series of technically fortunate events, Prussia and Brandenburg came together to be a unified and individual state. Cool! Here's a bit on the two states' individual histories. In 1525, by the Treaty of Krakow, the Duchy of Prussia was created through partial secularization of the Teutonic Order state. It was governed by Duke Albert of Prussia, a member of the cadet branch of the House of Hohenzollern. His son was Albert Frederick. Albert Frederick became Duke after Albert's death in 1568. In 1594, Albert Frederick's 14-year-old daughter, Anna Frederick, married the son of Joachim Frederick of Hohenzollern-Brandenburg, John Sigismund. The Prussian Hohenzollerns bonded with the Fredericks of Brandenburg. When the ruler of Prussia, George Frederick, died in 1603, Joachim Frederick assumed power. The Prussian Hohenzollerns were now politically intertwined with the Frederick Brandenburgians. Power was then transferred to John Sigismund. Sigismund's rule marked the true beginning of Brandenburg-Prussia.
John Sigismund's rule was fair to an extent. He permitted religious freedom because of his own conversion from Lutheranism to Calvinism. Go religion! John Sigismund was then succeeded by George Williams. Williams showed to be a strong, neutral ruler, but because of the 30 Years' War, the state was extremely weak and was counted as one of the poorest states of the Holy Roman Empire. In 1640, the rule of Brandenburg-Prussia shifted to a man named Frederick William, who later became known as the Great Elector. He took over in times of political, economical, and demographic crises caused by the war. William was an enlightened leader who turned Brandenburg-Prussia into one of the top 5 European powers, abolished torture, and created a nationwide religious freedom. When Frederick William died, his son Frederick III took over and ruined everything. He had all the Hohenzollern tenacity of personal power without the Hohenzollern genius to use it. He was so distrustful that he did not even trust his own ministers. Also, he was too soft to strike out a plan and follow through. With the most significant leaders until 1713, our timeline comes to an end. To continue our project, we will outline the achievements, failures, and their context in world history. Not only will we do that, but we will also analyze the government of the almighty Brandenburg-Prussia.
Frederick the Elector gained power of Brandenburg-Prussia after George Williams died in 1640. He adopted King Louis XIV's strategies to implement absolutist ideals and began focusing all of his attention to building a well-trained and powerful army, which would become the most powerful in Europe. His army started out as a group of mercenaries, but when he raised taxes, he could fund it more and made Brandenburg-Prussia a largely military-based society that was successful during his rule. Another story of success in world history is when John Sigismund of the Hohenzollerns married Anne Frederick, which united Brandenburg with Prussia. Both of these successes affected the world because the Holy Roman Empire had a strong ally and the state had an extraordinary military power.
George Williams led Brandenburg-Prussia, which was a very weak state, after leading them into the 30 Years' War. George Williams died in 1640 and left Frederick the Elector to rule this newly, very weakened Brandenburg-Prussia. Frederick the Elector had an extremely difficult job now. George Williams' rule was a complete failure in an utter sense. That takes care of our successes and failures in the world, so let's analyze their governments.
Frederick William, the Great Elector, adopted all of Louis XIV's strategies to implement absolutist ideals and focused his time and resources on building up his army and used them to crush any and all rebellions and dissensions to his rule. In order to fund his new growing army, he built a centralized and ruthless taxation system. His successors followed suit and continued this absolute strategy through the years.
This feature presentation was brought to you by Carl Ramos Dentistry Productions.
Don't forget to bring a towel.
Perfect cut. Water break. Good job, guys.